welcome to chapter 6, where we will be building forms with hooks. In this chapter, we will look at how to implement forms with validation logic and React hooks. I will be the driver and navigator also. And today I'm with Sharon, who will also be a driver and a navigator. So, yeah, Sharon will just start explaining the first part.
So first we start with creating an initial JSX form template, whereby we're going to create a new file called userform.js, and then we are going to copy this code from our previous template from Bootstrap into our user form. Then we're going to move over to so first we import our form and button React Bootstrap component that will be used. And then also note that we have deleted the markup to display the form checkbox to simplify our form implementation in this code and focus more on hooks. And then we're going to move over to handling inputs with use state. So in most React apps, it's convenient to have a JavaScript function that handles a submission of the form and has access to the data that the form entered into the form. And this is that the user entered into the form. And this is done by storing these user entered data in the component state with use state. First, we import use state with the import React use state from React. And then next we add in the below two lines over here, which is our two consts. And then we have declared our two states variable, email and password, along with their state setter methods, set email and set password. And then we handle the onChange event that is triggered wherever a field value is changed. And then over here, as you can see, we've added this line of code. And then we do the same to the password field by adding this line of code that has got the set password as well. And then we do this, and then we capture immediately what's entered into the form by the user. So that's the use of that. Then we move over to showing specific validation errors. So currently we have the default email validation, but we should be able to have specific validation errors depending on the input given. For example, email is required or email should be a minimum of 6 characters, and we show corresponding validation error alerts when a user submits the form. To show specific validation errors, we declare two more state variables to store our email and password error messages, which is what we have done over here. And if we go inside of our, what is this? If we go inside over here, you can see that that is exactly, wait, is this today's code?
That's chapter
Oh my
7.
gosh. Yeah, I see that. User form. Yeah, if we come here, y'all can see that we've got our const email and our password as well. Um, which, yeah. And then to handle form submission, we define a handle submit event. We then bind handle submit to the onSubmit event handler in the form element by adding this const handle submit equals to event.prevent default. And then inside of our form, we say onSubmit equals to handle submit. So when the form is submitted, handle submit will be called event.prevent default. In handle submit is to ensure the page isn't reloaded when we send the content of the form. So in handle submit, we want to perform some client side validation. For example, if user length is 0, if it's less than a minimum a length, yo, if it's less than a minimum length, if there are spaces in between, etc., we still illustrate this for the email field by adding the below. So we've added. Oh, there's my mouse is acting up. So is this the same? Yeah. So we've added this if else statement, which is basically um what we have just explained above. And then only when it manages to reach the last else clause that we know we have no email validation errors, and we set the Boolean email valid to true, which is over here. And then if email valid is true, we then show an alert that which no, with what has been entered into the form. And then when we run it, this is what we are going to see inside of our browser. And now I'm going to hand over to Lucky.
Yeah, so now we'll be looking at showing validation error messages. So if we enter an invalid email address, our form is not going to submit because of the validation checks that we have added in our code. So we should be showing validation errors to the user for for them to correct the input as well, right? So we are going to do this by importing the alert component from Bootstrap. Then we are going to this alert is going to provide feedback messages for user actions, and the code we're going to add is the email error.length is greater than 0, and then we can set that alert, and the variant is going to be danger. So we're going to wrap this condition around the alert tag, and we show the error message only if the error message's length is more than 0, indicating that there is an error. So remember that the syntax, the double ampersand syntax, is saying if email error length is greater than 0, then show the alert component. So when we run our app, we're going to see that alert, and it's going to be red. Then when it comes to clearing the fields upon successful submit, so currently after submitting our forms, the user entered values in the fields remain, and they should be cleared, right, after submission. So to do so, in our handle submit method, after successful validation, we are going to clear the email and password state, right, and we're just going to set it to an empty string. Then this will still, however, not this still won't clear our fields, right, where we have to actually bind these state values to our fields value. So we're just going to bind it by setting our value to be equal to email and password, right, which are empty strings. So we have an exercise here, right, to after we complete our login form, to try and come up with our own form and have additional inputs, right, which was our homework. And then yeah, we can just add to the code that we have here. So in summary, in this chapter, we learned how to create a form with React hooks, and we created an initial JSX form with a template from React Bootstrap. We then learned how to use form group, form control elements, and on-change methods to handle form input, show form specific form field validation errors, and how to validate the form upon submit. So now what we have is that after submitting a form, we need to be able to persist that data by calling the API endpoint of the server, and we will begin to explore how to communicate with the server in the next chapter. So this is what the form is going to look like. We have Sharon there with her email address. She's going to put in a password, tick the check me out button, and yeah, when we submit, shows us that alert there, and it doesn't show us the institution, but it shows us the password and email address. And then now to show the error, to display the error handling, so you can see showing those alerts telling us that the email is required, and that password must be at least 8 characters long, right, and the data persists. However, as we saw, when it's successful, the data does not persist, it gets cleared to an empty string. Yes, things got.
And that was it, I guess.
Yes, that was it for chapter 6. Thank you very much. See you in chapter 7. I was the driver and navigator, and Sharon was also the driver and navigator in this pair programming session. Bye bye.
Bye.